When the Nazis came to power, they unleashed a cultural transformation that had a significant impact on German life. One of the main goals of Hitler's followers was to control the sexuality of the population in order to increase the birth rate and reverse its declining trend. To achieve this, the government implemented a variety of absurd measures and incentives, as well as imposing strict surveillance of sexual mores. Anyone who challenged the sexual ideals of Nazism could face detention in concentration camps, where death by starvation, disease, or execution awaited. In this new episode, we will delve into sexuality during the Third Reich. Prior to Hitler's rise to power in the 1920s, Germany experienced a period of relative sexual freedom, in which traditional values lost influence among the population. This generated a reaction from the more conservative sectors of society, including the National Socialist Party, Hitler's supporters. The Nazis launched a propaganda campaign blaming the Weimar Republic, the political regime of the time, for the low birth rate. After World War I, fewer and fewer babies were being born in Germany, and the Nazis attributed this to new trends that they described as degenerate and extravagant. From 1933, with the rise of the Third Reich, the Nazis sought to promote their particular vision of sexuality, which, while oppressive and controlling, was full of contradictions. On the one hand, they emphasized traditional values, stressing the importance of heterosexuality and chastity. Adolf Hitler himself never made his love affairs public, and the population was for a long time unaware of the existence of Eva Braun, his partner of many years. Hitler wanted to be perceived as a chaste and pure man, uninterested in romance and committed only to Germany, which he considered as true love. On the other hand, he was convinced that if German women discovered he had a partner, they would stop supporting him. For Nazism, heterosexuality was a moral obligation, as it was the only way for couples to have children, repopulate the Third Reich, and ensure the future of the Aryan race. Thus, under the facade of sexual conservatism, the government associated intimate relations and sexual enjoyment with patriotism and service to a higher cause. At the same time, the Nazi regime praised the traditional family, consisting of a mother, a father, and several children. They modeled themselves on the Gable family, Hitler's minister's family, and encouraged Germans to imitate them. Newspapers showed pictures of children playing in the garden, helping their mother with household chores, or hugging Uncle Adolf, as they called the dictator. On the other hand, paradoxically, the Third Reich indirectly encouraged sexual relations before or outside marriage. Although it may seem contradictory, the goal of Nazism was to increase the birth rate regardless of whether that meant bypassing marriage. Indeed, a large proportion of young people between the ages of 10 and 18 were affiliated with the Hitler Youth and the League of German Girls. The Hitler Youth and the League of German Girls offered activities that promoted social interaction among young people, often leading to meetings and intimate relationships. These organizations emphasized the importance of German youth as a vital force for the future of the Third Reich. While officially promoting traditional values, in practice, some sexual freedom was allowed among young people, as long as it contributed to the expansion of the population. Nazi youth associations, which only admitted minors, encouraged encounters between boys and girls with the aim of encouraging early sexual relations and promoting reproduction. Consequently, during the 1930s, there was an increase in teenage pregnancies, and government propaganda praised the role of unwed mothers as pillars of the new society. Following the same line of thinking as the Third Reich, it sought to legally equate children born out of wedlock with those born in wedlock, in order to avoid the rejection of these children. The following sentence, allegedly uttered in 1944, is attributed to Hitler. Pedagogical work is indispensable. Precise instructions should be given to writers and artists. Novels, stories, plays, or films which treat the child born out of wedlock as inferior, as an illegitimate child, should be banned. Hitler's followers even flirted with the idea of polygamy, allowing a man to have multiple wives at the same time. One prominent case was that of Martin Bormann, Hitler's secretary and one of the National Socialist Party hierarchs. Although married, he entered into an extramarital affair with an actress named Mana Behrens. Interestingly, Bormann confessed this to his wife in letters, expressing his happiness at being married to two women. Surprisingly, his wife did not object and agreed, mentioning that it was a pity that beautiful women were denied the possibility of motherhood. She suggested that Bormann arrange for his mistress to have a child 1 year. and her another the next, to ensure that there would always be a woman available. He even floated the idea of enacting a law after the war to allow able-bodied men to have 2 wives at the same time. However, polygamy and extramarital affairs were only acceptable if practiced by one man. The Nazi movement believed in the subordination and passivity of the female population, in contrast to the trends of the 1920s. The ideal woman was one who stayed at home, took care of household chores, met her husband's demands, and cared for her children. To encourage this view, the government prohibited women from holding leadership positions in the Nazi Party, reserving politics exclusively for men. Although it is worth mentioning that some women did achieve prominent positions in the Third Reich, such as Ilse Koch, known for her sadism in the Buchenwald concentration camp, and Leni Riefenstahl, the film director of the regime's films. Interestingly, female homosexuality was not prosecuted as severely as male homosexuality. During the Nazi regime, government propaganda held that love between men was an aberration and an outrage against nature, and was considered counterproductive to the reproduction of the Aryan race. The Gestapo was the institution charged with the persecution of male homosexuality. In 1934, they drew up so-called pink lists, containing the names of homosexuals in each locality. Using this information, the Nazis raided clubs and bars frequented by the gay community, arresting members and detaining them without legal safeguards. While in custody, they were subjected to blackmail and torture to make them inform on other homosexuals. From 1938, the Gestapo announced that homosexual men would be sent to concentration camps, where they were identified with a pink triangle on their prisoner uniform and suffered daily humiliation and torment. In conclusion, Nazism was dedicated to controlling the sex lives of Germans according to its own interests, with the aim of promoting the reproduction of the supposedly Aryan race. This nightmare continued until 1945, when World War II ended. If you have been interested in this topic, we would like to know your opinion on the highlights of sexuality during Nazism. Leave us your comments in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to discover more military events that left their mark on history. Did you know everything we've discussed today? Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll read you. See you next time.